So I gotta say, your debut feature film, you've got this amazing cast, these amazing producers, awesome team. What drew you to this script and telling this the story of competitive cheerleading?
Yeah, totally. I am very blessed to have an incredibly stacked cast and team. You are very correct. Yeah, I feel like growing up in a sports household, a hockey household specifically, those are some high stakes. Those are some really pressurized conversations. And it was always bleeding over into our family. And so that always confused me. But I really wanted to dive into that. I used to wear a cheerleading uniform and DJing around Toronto. And so that was kind of like my in point into kind of like the uniform and, the kind of brand of cheerleading. But it wasn't until I saw a video kind of go viral of a cheerleader kind of like practicing the splits and how difficult that was, the toll it takes on their body. And I think it's just, a side of the sport none of us really thought about because the sport is so specific to, be pretty, look perfect. You don't really think about what they're doing, all the practices that lead up to them hitting that perfect 2.5 minutes. So I knew that that was the kind of the film I wanted to tell, and then bringing that story and that skeleton to Joanne Sarrazin, the writer. And yeah, she just kind of like worked her magic and brought that story to life.
I also love the fact that we've seen a few cheerleading films over the years, and so many either are comedic or very dark. And I love that you actually balance this out where there's a real sense of hope and inspiration and purpose and so many other things we don't always see in these stories. Can you talk a little bit about that? How much of that was in the script and how much did you want to find that in the story?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely all in the script. I knew, I wanted to show the hardships, but there was a cheer team in Brampton who I ended up doing a proof of concept with. And then after that proof of concept, they kind of just opened their doors to me. They're like, we know you're writing a feature. If you want to just come watch practice or come with us to competition, like by all means. And so we created a really lovely relationship. And I was able to see behind the scenes. And their practices are, you know, anxiety inducing. There's concussions every single practice. I've seen broken arms, I've seen vomit, I've seen blood. And then on the flip side, they were running around laughing hysterically and doing flips and being silly. And then some of them would walk into practice pounding a cheeseburger, and then they would, wipe their face and then get on the mat and do 10 flips in a row. And so there was already that kind of like balance. There was like a full plate of all of these different emotions happening there. And so I was like, okay, I want to make sure I'm kind of showing the full experience of what it is to be a cheerleader.
Well, what was the prep like then? Because obviously, then you've got this team that helps prep a lot of things, but you've also got this amazing camaraderie between the stars and a real sense of friendship, relationship, and all those things. How much of that is just like on the day, and how much of that is prep?
Yeah, I mean, when it came to Riley and Amanda's relationship, we knew we wanted to cast Amanda early on. So we had time to make sure those two actors felt comfortable with each other and like had that connection. We were so lucky to find Kudakwashe Rotendo, who was a cheer captain. So she had that experience and the acting chops, which was obviously, stars aligning, perfect person. And then her and Devery would have the time and they would go to gymnastics together. We would go to Cheer Fusion in Brampton and they would learn how to bass and backspot. And, on the way there, we're singing musical theater tunes. And so, it was that all encompassing moment of we were all just really happy and excited to tell this film. Everybody who kind of came on board loved the movie before it was even made. And I think you can feel that. You can tell that that energy was there.
What is Devery like to work with? Because, you know, this is a tough film. This is a really tough role. And obviously, there's a lot of actual like gymnastics happening here. So, what was that whole process like working with Devery?
I mean, she's incredible. She's an incredible number one. Her leadership when she shows on set, she's so professional and so good. She makes everybody around her even better. And just her commitment to the work and to the research and the prep. Because that's what it really is. And, even just me, her, and Kudakwashe would sit down and we would be like, okay, how long have these characters been together? What was their first date? Just going through those little details of the work, it ends up kind of showing. Even the fact that they were both kind of like training to get back in shape and to like nail these crazy moves that we kind of asked them to do for the film. It was all encompassing. It was nonstop. She was having like very physical days back to back. I think the big kind of oneer at the end, that was our 12th take. And so
Wow.
that was a full out. Usually cheerleaders will do 2 full outs a day, maybe. And that's like really pushing their bodies to the limit. We had an hour before lunch and I think we knocked out like 5 full outs. We took lunch. We knew we needed to fill them with like, I think it was like lasagna that day and Red Bull. I was just like, eat carbs, have energy, and then came back. And then, it was on that 12th take that we ended up getting it. But it was such a physical role for her. We tried to make sure in the schedule that there was like ebbs and flows, but even, I think all of the house scenes with Shannon Sossaman were towards the end of our shoot. It was like, okay, do a bunch of push-ups, do a bunch of sit-ups. And she's like, I'm so tired. But she came to set every day and just like delivered 10 out of 10.
That is so cool. Wow. What a trooper. That's
Yes,
amazing.
absolutely.
What was maybe this answers the question. What was the scene that for you was like, okay, this is it. I've nailed it. This was the scene that I was most worried about or whatever.
I mean, I feel like as a director, you're worried about every scene. You're worried, you're always like, I need to get my day. I need to make sure I have what I need for in the cut. But yeah, that oneer was definitely on everyone's mind. I know there were lots of suggestions from producers who were like, well, let's just shoot it from different angles just in case. Or like, but I think that's what we always see in cheer films, we see the wide shot and it's the stunt performers, and then we cut into a close-up. And the audiences are too smart now. They know that's not the actor doing it. And you're just watching kind of like a quick little edit. And I was like, I want the audience to feel what it's like to be in a performance. And for me, the only option was one shot.
And it does the job. Obviously, it's so cool. The other side of this is when you're delivering this now and it's off to audiences, and obviously audiences have seen it already, but this is the wide audience now. What is that feeling like, and what do you hope that they're walking away with, that once they see the film they're like, oh, this is it?
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that audiences walk away a little bit sweaty and that they feel, energized and pumped up, like they want to go like pump iron at the gym or like go for a run. And I hope they kind of walk away knowing cheerleaders are badass and they deserve way more respect than they've ever been given. And that, I don't know, young people, it's hard to be a young person and there's a lot going on, especially in their minds. It's very overwhelming. And to be a little bit more tender with young people. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for the time. The film is amazing.
Thank
It's
you.
really inspiring.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.